Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the Trifecta Sports Podcast. We are streaming live today on Monday night. Um, I'm here with Coop. We're absent Dave today, simply because Dave is either in Hawaii or well on his way to Hawaii at this point. Not
Yep.
really sure. He might be tuning in later, hanging out with us. We don't know through the chat box, but chat box is live, guys. You guys send us your fantasy football questions. We're the Trifecta Sports Podcast again. If you participate in the live stream, you will be featured on our podcast. So we appreciate all the love we've gotten so far the last couple of weeks. 27 subscribers in 28 days. That's not bad. On our YouTube channel, we appreciate all the love. If you haven't subscribed to our channel, go ahead and do so now. Takes a few minutes. We live stream every Monday night around 9:30. We're a little bit late today, but we also have started doing Sunday morning streams to quickly go over some things here and there. We had a good success doing it this Sunday. But without further ado, we're going to head on into the show. You guys are a part of the recording of the Trifecta Sports Podcast. I believe for episode 27.
No
so.
idea. Sounds
I
good.
forget. We're going to go episode 27. Hey, welcome back, fellas. So week 2 is wrapping up in the fantasy football world. Me and Coop, we're talking off air about how much we hate pretty much the whole Chicago Bears roster. I'm going to sit here and give my spiel on a tight end that plays for the Bears. Apparently, he's on the roster. Who would know? You know, if you're a fantasy owner of Cole Kmet, you've been pretty discouraged at the target share. He has 2 targets in 2 games. Coop mentioned earlier off the air that he's going to drop every single Chicago Bears player. I'm just not happy with it. I have my eye on a couple of waiver wire targets in our league currently. We've got some claims in already. I put claims in like the second half of the Bears game yesterday. So Gerald Everett, big name I'm going after. I've already picked up Hayden Hurst. Bengals have not looked good at all, but I feel like Hayden Hurst is probably going to be a solid pickup. Averages 5-6 targets a game. May get lucky and start him and get a touchdown every now and then. Also, I have a couple other ones in mind, but I'm going to keep those a secret because Coop's in our league and he might steal away from us.
It's very possible.
But for my week this week, I had a decent week. I was lucky enough to have Lamar Jackson in my starting lineup, and we have double PPR with everything like super inflated. So with that being said, when we say that Lamar Jackson dropped 92 points in the fantasy league game, he dropped 92 points in a fantasy league game, and I'm still going to lose. I'm not happy about it. My opponent right now currently has Stephon Diggs, Kirk Cousins, Buffalo kicker, and Dalvin Cook playing, and I'm up by 5. And I have A.J. Brown playing. Not looking good for me, fellas. Not looking good for the home team. Coop, how's your week going so far?
Not well. Felt really good last week. I hit on my running backs. First one in the 8th round. I'll keep saying that because that's a big deal, right? To wait that late on a running back in fantasy football. And this week they did not perform. Michael Carter, Darrell Henderson Jr., A.J. Dillon, all, below projections, below expectations, and worse than last week. But the usage was still there. I'm high on that. My receivers, man, my pass catchers, like you said, the Bears. I've got Darnell Mooney. He was a 1,000-yard receiver last year, and they just are not throwing the ball.
They're not throwing it at all to any.
He's thrown 28 passes this year through 2 games, 8 quarters, 28 pass attempts. And he's not a highly efficient passer at this point in his career. So that's not going to do it. Like you said, I'm out at this point on all of the Bears passing game. I'm not roster. We have a 2-quarterback league, and I'm probably dropping Fields. Like, he's still not rosterable. Mooney, Kmet, I don't think you would have a second wide receiver on that team anyway. The only value I see in Chicago is the backfield, and it's still not I mean, at most, they're flex consideration right now. I think Khalil Herbert is on his way to taking over that backfield, but until then, I don't love starting David Montgomery. I mean, he's okay in the flex, but he's not. If he's my RB1 or RB2, I'm worried watching the Bears so far this season.
Yeah, Keith, we hear you, buddy. You said my Raiders sucked again. Well, I mean, coming from a Bengals fan, I feel you. The Bengals are the only team in the NFL that have not led in a game so far this year. Um, Joe Burrow is also on pace for getting sacked like 150 times. When we spent over 17 million a year on the offensive line, returning from a Super Bowl team, you should be getting better, and you're not. Um, I'm holding out hope though. I have a feeling that Joe Burrow's not going to suck for very long. It's not in his, it's not in his nature. He's a very good quarterback, and the Bengals are a very good team. Other than protecting the quarterback, pretty good defense. We're 2 kicks away from 2-0. That's pretty much it. So there's hope there for the Bengals. Fantasy wise, I don't know if you're a Joe Burrow owner. I'm probably not starting him until he gives me consistent production, and he's getting sacked 4 or 5 times a quarter at this point. So, I mean, if I'm starting any Bengal right now, it's probably going to be Joe Mixon. So that's my overreaction for the Bengals.
I still think Higgins and Chase are must starts. I mean, Higgins
Too, but
concussion first week, but he had a really good game.
Here's another one. We've already talked about got tight end, Lucas Miller. Kyle Pitts is one of them. I have Cole Kmet on my roster, and when I tell you I'm so mad about that, I'm so mad at that. It's not even funny. 2 targets. The dude is supposed to be. He was the top 10 freaking tight end going into the season. Had a killer off season. Looked really good. New offense, new coach, young quarterback. Not a lot of receiving options other than Darnell Mooney. He should be getting the freaking football, but he's not. I don't know what it is. And Kyle Pitts is the same way. No clue why he's not getting the ball.
So these were the 2 tight ends I was probably highest on coming into the season. I didn't think they were going to finish 1 and 2. These were the 2 guys I had my eyes on. And the big thing on Kmet was that you can get similar volume to Kyle Pitts. He's going to see a lot of targets. Touchdowns are going to be a question mark because the offense is bad. But I think that's held true so far. Kmet's 0 for 0, and Pitts has had 2 catches for 19 yards in both games. So that comparison still holds true. You're still getting close to Kyle Pitts' production out of Cole Kmet right
now. I just don't like it. One thing we can talk about, and Blake, you brought up a really good point. Tua Tagovailoa. What he did this weekend was unbelievable. What is it? 27 points in the fourth quarter he scored, I guess, something like that.
I believe so.
6 touchdown passes, and here we are. Most experts in the game of football generally most of the time that happens to be somebody who has never played football before. But for somebody who played football at a high school level, me, if you throw 6 touchdown passes in a game in the NFL, you're pretty damn good. That's just me. People were, YouTube videos and Twitter videos and Facebook videos were all out there. Tua was underthrowing Tyreek Hill, but he wasn't underthrowing him this week. And Tyreek Hill has been quoted saying that Tua is the most accurate passer that he's been with his whole career. Let me remind y'all about who his quarterback was just last year. His name happens to be Patrick Mahomes. Could very well possibly go down as one of the greatest quarterbacks of all time, if not already. So, is it a little bit of gamesmanship, hyping up his own quarterback? Yeah, but is there some truth to it in terms of accuracy? Yeah, there probably is. Here's something to think about. Most leagues, people didn't even draft Tua. I don't know how many. Let me look at our league real quick. I don't know if anybody's got Tua, but we're going to search for him and see how many. Wonder how many leagues have him drafted. How many rosters? He is rostered in 64% of leagues on ESPN. And right now, this week, he's the second ranked quarterback. It's pretty good, fellas. Is he going to continue that? Don't know. Try, dude.
No, there's no way. I mean, he's not putting up 460 yards and 6 touchdowns a game. That's absolutely no.
But he can average 2 or 3 with that lineup.
Yeah.
Trey says Bengals play calling is atrocious. I would have to agree with that. Execution also has a big deal with it. Defensively, I like them. Bengals are really good defensively. I do think they need to get their rookie Dax Hill some playing time. He had 2 snaps last week. First round draft pick, 2 snaps. I don't like it. But play calling in general is you can say it's bad play calling, but on the other hand, you have to also think the execution can be an issue as well. That's just coming from experience. Every play is designed to work, but if you can't get it to work, it's because somebody didn't do their job or somebody got beat. I think it's more of us getting beat and maybe some indecision on Joe Burrow's part, thinking he's going to have to run for his life and not being as much of a play creator as just he's trying to save his life in there. But
my concern with the Bengals, I mean, they lost to the Cowboys and Steelers. Usually, those are respectable losses.
Mm-hmm.
But this was Mitch Trubisky and Cooper Rush. It's not going to get easier.
I'll tell you the one positive thing I brought from this weekend from the Bengals loss is that I have CeeDee Lamb on my fantasy team, right? So with that, I'm not as prone to look for trades for CeeDee Lamb now that I know that Cooper Rush is capable of throwing the ball. Am I going to get the production I would have with Dak Prescott? Probably not. But in terms of me keeping him until maybe Dak comes back, it's a good option to have. He did have a lot of targets, plenty of looks. So that's the one positive thing I'm taking out of this weekend. Lucas Miller says Russell Wilson and the Broncos are a train wreck.
Yeah.
They're a little underwhelming right now.
Turns out Russ cannot cook.
Remember last week when I told you when I had made that take to where like Russell Wilson and Jameis Winston would kind of be similar in numbers? Maybe not similar in talent, but similar in numbers. That's what I'm talking about. It all depends on who you got with you. And Russell Wilson is going to have a tough time, which it shouldn't be that way, honestly. I mean, he was so good in Seattle for so long. It could be, just growing pains with a new team. I'm not making any excuses for the guy. He should be winning football games for sure. But another team that, kind of surprised me this week is the Colts. They tied the Texans, shut out by Jacksonville.
Yeah, that's huge.
The Colts have Matt Ryan, very formidable quarterback. Plays in the Super Bowl. We all know what happened there. Best 1A and 1B, maybe running back in the game of football, and a top 10 receiver. And a fairly good defense, in my opinion. What is wrong with the Indianapolis Colts? So if there are any Colts fans watching, first of all, you should subscribe to our YouTube channel. Second of all, let us know. I don't watch Colts games. I watch Bengals games and then whatever's on Sunday night. Because, in Kentucky, you only get 2 options for games unless you have Red Zone. But I don't know what's wrong with the Colts. But shout out to Jacksonville, man. Trevor Lawrence, getting it done. I just wish they'd throw the ball to Travis Etienne.
I wanted to touch on we were talking about the Cardinals earlier, pulling out that win.
Oh, yeah.
They have not had an offensive snap this season with the lead and won that game. That just blows my mind. Because
that's crazy.
The winning score came on defense. They have not had an offensive play this year where they had the lead in a football game. And they're sitting at 1-1.
That is the craziest stat I've ever heard in my life. All right, guys. If you're watching, help us out and subscribe to our YouTube channel. Send us your fantasy football questions. A lot of traffic from Facebook right now, I see. The YouTube traffic usually picks up here soon, so hopefully you guys are hopping on. Help us out and provide some content for our show, and you're getting featured on our podcast. We're actually recording our podcast episode right now. You guys can have your questions answered live on air, and it will be recorded for the podcast for you to listen to later. So, pretty cool. Really quick about our YouTube channel. We have grown tremendously over the past month. We've pretty much doubled our subscriber count, and a lot of it is because we are live streaming and interacting with our audience. So, if that's something you like, keep tuning in every Monday night. Like I said before, if you're new to our channel, we're covering fantasy football currently, but again, we're working on solo videos, for specific other reasons such as college football, the Major League Baseball, and things like that. But right now, it's primarily fantasy football because that's something we love, something that's generating a lot of interest in our viewer count. But our YouTube channel is growing. We're on our quest to 100 subscribers, and then we're looking at maybe giving away a free Trifecta Sports Podcast hat or T-shirt. Something I would like to invest in, a little bit of merch to throw out there to so we can wear it on air. Honestly, Jeff Curtis says, "What's up, fellas?" That's the Morris Creek Mauler, baby. Jeff, I hope you're doing good, buddy.
Yep.
All right, Coop. Let's talk about some of the. We've already talked about Cole Kmet. Let's talk about some of the guys that have underperformed this week. That we're having a lot of problems with, and it's week 2. We're overreacting. Quick drops, trade targets. Who are you looking at right now?
I still believe in Kyle Pitts. He had a 1,000-yard season as a 20-year-old. He was 20 last season. 20-year-old tight end. I mean, that's just unheard of. Usually those are third-year guys. It takes tight ends a few years to come along. Atlanta is not good. The passing game is not encouraging. And
Nope.
Drake London is just getting massive target share, 46% target share last week. I don't think he can sustain that. And as he continues to have success, defenses are going to have to key on him. It's going to open things up for Pitts a little more. He's still on the field. He's still running the routes. The talent is undeniable. They're still splitting him out, using him as a wide receiver. So if you have Pitts, I would say hold him because you're not going to get good value in the trade market right now. If you don't have him, you can probably steal him. I really don't see Kyle Pitts finishing the season averaging 2 receptions and 19 yards a game. So he's one of the top names I'm going after. One name to watch on your waiver wire this week, I picked him up in ours, actually, is Garrett Wilson.
Yep, I was getting ready to bring him up.
Just had 14 targets. I believe that's a rookie record before week 15 of a season. Like no rookie receiver has ever had that many targets before week 15. And as long as Joe Flacco is quarterback, I feel a lot better about that. I think Flacco's better than Wilson, but
I do too.
He carves that rollout. I think he will still be the number 1 when Wilson gets back.
In my head, I don't know why. The same thing with Jimmy Garoppolo. People all had all this. I mean, Trey Lance, prayers up to you, big guy. Hurt his ankle. But I don't think he should have been on the field anyway. I am a believer of if you have somebody that wins you games and get you to the playoffs, why would you go to somebody else? If you have Zach Wilson, I know you've invested so much time and effort into Zach Wilson, but the dude is hot trash. He sucks. Like, he's terrible. Yep. Joe Flacco is a mediocre quarterback. He can hold you over. Maybe it's too late for this now, but maybe if you started Joe Flacco in front of Zach Wilson, you can groom Zach Wilson into who you want him to be, and then you put him in when Joe Flacco decides that he can't play football anymore. But Flacco come out. He's elite. Come out and won you a football game, a very close football game against a very good football team in Cleveland. So my brother Josh says, why are the Bills so good? I have 2 words for you, Joshua. Josh Allen.
They're good everywhere. There is not a weakness with the Buffalo Bills.
No, I love them. I'm honorary Bills Mafia until they play the Bengals. couple other studs this week. Lamar Jackson, we've already talked about him today. Stephon Diggs right now, 12 receptions, 148 yards, and 3 touchdowns. Going to end up beating me in my fantasy league game this week. Appreciate it, Ryan Smith. Lamar Jackson, again, Tyreek Hill, Jalen Waddle, 2 receivers on the same team. 4 touchdowns between the two, almost probably quick math, about 500 plus receiving yards between the two. 11 receptions, so 22 total. Just an outstanding day from the guys in the teal and orange. Big name that is climbing up a lot of people's boards. Going to be a problem for the rest of his career is Amon-Ra St. Brown. The dude is doing things, is leading a team from the depths of the dungeons of hell into the spotlight, winning them football games. He's the kind of guy that the Lions needed. You know, I like the Lions.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I
They
said
don't
last
do anything
week,
special. I like Dan Campbell.
it might have been on our Sunday show. I said the Lions offense is really good.
Yeah, DeAndre Swift.
They are looking great. And shout out to the sun god, Amon-Ra St. Brown. 8 games now with 8 receptions, 8 or more. The only 2 receivers in NFL history to do that, along with him, are Antonio Brown and Michael Thomas. So, I mean, those are perennial wide receiver 1 overalls.
Yeah.
And he's giving you that kind of production right now. So if you got him, he's one of those guys. He's this year's Cooper Kupp.
Yeah, I mean, he's getting a lot of time right now. Josh, Dave is in Hawaii or on his way to Hawaii. We don't know. He sent us an itinerary, basically mapping out everything he's doing in Hawaii. It's a lot of hiking. If anybody knows who me and Josh are, we're very large humans. We don't do a lot of hiking. But beaching, if I went to Hawaii, I'd want to play every golf course I could. But really quick, going down the list of top performers this week. Tua, of course, we talked about him. Cooper Kupp is always in there. Coop talked about Garrett Wilson coming sort of like his breakout party for the New York Jets. Nick Chubb, great day. Josh Allen killing it right now, as always. Jalen Hurts climbing up the leaderboard in terms of consistency for quarterbacks in this league, especially when it comes to fantasy. Coming out of college, I don't know that I expected this much out of Jalen Hurts, but the dude has turned into a very good pro.
There's a
someone
Hurts has made a really clear top 5 tier for quarterback.
Yeah.
There's a big drop if you don't have one of those top 5 because that next group that was supposed to be the passers are just kind of underperforming right now. You had Burrow, Rodgers, Brady, and none of those guys are living up to what we thought they would be. So Hurts right there with Lamar Jackson, Mahomes, and Herbert, and they're all behind Allen, in my opinion. But it's a pretty clear top 5 at quarterback.
Yeah, easily. Mark Andrews with a big day. Carson Wentz coming in a loss, but still Carson Wentz is putting up some numbers. Michael Williams with a good week. Christian Kirk, massive week. 2 touchdown catches for Jacksonville. Doing what they paid him to do. Rashad Bateman with another big week. 100 yards passing. Cortland Sutton, 122 yards passing or receiving.
Curtis Samuel, I think, is a name. If he's not rostered, he needs to be, and he's probably a starter every week now.
Yeah, this past week, 7 receptions, 78 yards, and a touchdown. 7 of 9 in terms of receptions to target ratio. Good guys to probably have in your lineup for consistency.
Mm-hmm.
James Clark says, how about that Alabama quarterback room a few years ago with Hurts, Tua, and Mac Jones together? Yeah. That's what Alabama does, man.
Yeah.
I don't know if you guys have seen this. I'll try to post it. I'll try to find it here in a minute. I'll let Coop ramble on for a minute. But there's a picture of a practice and all of their running backs that they had at the time. It's ridiculous what the names Alabama had. They all didn't stay there. Some of them transferred out. But the names they had on their roster, it's stupid. You wouldn't even believe it. Coop, take over for a minute if you don't care.
Yeah, I think it's right there with that LSU wide receiver room.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, we've seen some insane production out of that 4-year period they had there. Looking down the performer list again, it's good to see Tony Pollard get a hit. I was really high on him preseason, and I think with Cooper Rush in there for the next few games, he's going to get a little upgrade.
Yeah, Pollard had a big day. Big day. Sorry.
Yep, I'm worried about Austin Eckler. Underperformed in week 1. Really got majority of his points kind of in a last effort comeback in the fourth quarter. So I don't think Eckler's going to return that RB3 overall, top 5 pick where he was going this year. I don't think it's too late to flip him for somebody that was also in that range, but he's one of those first-round running backs that are kind of falling out of favor. And this is one of the reasons I was so low on drafting those running backs early this year. Me and Frank were talking about it before the show started. 16 of the top 18 flex-eligible players this week in PPR scoring were wide receivers. Mark Andrews was one that was not a wide receiver, and only 3 running backs were in the top 20 in flex scoring.
Fantasy football is a wide receiver. It's a wide receiver's game, fellas.
Yep.
It really is. I mean, if you got a chance in your top 3 picks, I know most people's drafts or everybody's draft should be over. But if you got a chance to pick Jonathan Taylor or Christian McCaffrey, that's fine. Pick them. But load up on receivers. Scour that waiver. You're not going to find good run backs on waivers. You're not going to. You have to trade for them, and you have to get lucky when you draft them. There are valuable assets for flexes in the waiver wire. Oh, just in wide receivers alone.
Yep.
But anyway, going back, skipping back to the Alabama question about the quarterbacks with Tua, Hurts, and Mac Jones. Look at this picture. Do y'all know who's in this picture? Number 17. Pretty sure that's TJ Yeldon. Number 1, that's Alvin Kamara. Number 3 is Eddie Lacy. Or no, 3 is Derrick Henry. Who else was on here? Kenyon Drake in this photo as well. So in one practice, you have TJ Yeldon, Derrick Henry, Alvin Kamara, Eddie Lacy, and Kenyon Drake.
That's
in
crazy.
One picture. It's stupid. That's why they win. And obviously, Alvin Kamara ended up going to Tennessee. But the other guys, there's a couple of guys in there that we don't know anymore. But, that's a lot of firepower in that running back room right there. I had to throw that up here. But, that kind of reminded me of this photo. And it kind of amazes me that it's that cool in order for them to, just load up on, professional grade running backs like that. All righty. Looking ahead, what kind of matchups do we like next week? Anything looking forward? Let's look at the schedule. You guys watching out there, what are some questions that you have when it comes to fantasy football?
The New York Giants have a really good chance of going 3-0. New York Giants are undefeated right now. LA football teams, the teams that we thought were going to be amazing this year, are 2-2. Yep. New York football teams are 3-1. Just let that sink in for a second.
Who would have thought? Not us.
It's early, but and the Giants are doing it without a lot of production. They had the huge first week from Saquon. Daniel Jones, I still don't think he's hit 200 yards this year. He's not looking great, but they keep pulling out wins. So that's an interesting game to me, the Giants and Cowboys.
Looking down the schedule, Cincinnati, we play the Jets next week. I'm not calling it a win. After we just talked about the New York teams being, what is it, 3-1 you said? That's a pretty big deal. Kansas City at Indianapolis. I'm hammering anybody that I got on a Kansas City roster that week. Indianapolis does not look good. Their defense obviously give up 27 points to Jacksonville, who is improved. But, anybody that you have on your roster with Kansas City, Clyde Edwards-Helaire, obviously Travis Kelce. But you're looking at guys like Juju Smith-Schuster, Mecole Hardman. Mecole Hardman is available in a lot of leagues, guys.
Yeah,
and he's a guy. He's a boomer bust guy. He's not going to have consistency like some other guys you might get. But in a game like this, I look for him to have a big game.
I
Let's
like
see.
the Vikings, which I always like the Vikings, but playing against Detroit, who
Yeah.
just gave up 27 points to Washington. I think they gave up like 38 to Philadelphia the week before, and huge passing games in both those outings. Receivers killed it against Detroit. So if you can upgrade Justin Jefferson anymore, that's a good matchup. But the rest of the pass catchers will probably see a bump in that one.
Yeah. San Francisco at Denver. Denver has struggled as of late. Debo, Brendan Ayuk. Um, if you've not picked up Garoppolo, probably a good opportunity to do that. If you're struggling for a backup quarterback, or your starter isn't doing as well as you thought they would, or you thought they should. But at that point, I like anybody on San Francisco's team. The Atlanta Seattle matchup has me kind of scratching my head a little bit. Not really sure who to pick on that one. Um,
But
the
that's a
Chargers.
game.
I'm
That's a
sorry.
game where two bad offenses can actually get some production because they're playing two really bad
Yeah.
defenses.
The Rams and Cardinals. That's a matchup of offenses that are high powered. A lot of scoring going to go on in that one, I think. The Rams against Jacksonville. I would like to think, or I'm sorry, the Chargers against Jack. I would like to think the Chargers could handle business there if Justin Herbert is healthy. That's something to keep an eye on. New Orleans against Carolina. I'm gonna just leave that there for a second. Michael Thomas is a starter, in my opinion. Now, I
Yep.
think he's moved into that tier. If you've got him, you got to start him. And the only way you wouldn't start him is if you had somebody significantly better consistently. If it's me, if I have him on a lineup with the guys I have, start him, no questions asked. From here on out until something changes. And I don't think it will. He's obviously priority number one for Jameis Winston, and he's a guy that's historically very, very good, and he's going to continue to be very, very good. He's just a baller, man. He finds the ball. Jackie McCoy from YouTube. Sorry, Coop, I didn't mean to
Go ahead.
run over. He said, should I be ready to play Kirk over Cooks yet?
Yes.
Can you play them both?
Is
there somebody else that you're looking at?
Cooks had a down week. He's still getting the targets. I think he had 3 catches, like 40 yards. Obviously not what you're looking for out of him, but he's still going to be the number one guy every week. Kirk is just getting so many targets. And Jacksonville's putting up more points, right? They're a better offense than Houston is at this point. So I do think that you can feel okay starting Kirk over Cooks. I would definitely look into the matchups. I mean, that's a big thing week to week, especially when you're talking about these mid-tier guys. But I would probably play Kirk over Cooks on my roster.
Yeah. Just Jacob, one thing that we've said on this podcast before is you want to play players, especially these two guys who they're neck and neck in terms of overall talent and production. You're going to play players on the better offense. As of right now, the better offense to me is going to be Jacksonville, based on what we saw last week, 27-0 against for some people a playoff pick in the Indianapolis Colts, and they still might be, but they're in the same boat as my Cincinnati Bengals. When in doubt, play the player in the best offense. Does it work every time? No, but what works every time in fantasy football? Nothing. Keith says Steelers defense, where do they stand for week 3?
They're playing the Browns. Which I don't think
man. I think there are better defenses out there.
Yeah, the Browns aren't a great offense, but man, that run game has looked so good to start the year. I mean, what did Chubb just go for? 3 touchdowns last week?
Yep.
The week before, 140 yards. Like, they're going to do some damage on the ground. So there are probably better matchups.
Chubb took a lot of dirt away from Kamara last week. We were hammering Kamara hard. These guys from – go ahead.
Kareem Hunt.
What did I say?
Kamara.
I'm an idiot. Yeah, Kareem Hunt. people were asking us all day on Sunday morning whether or not they should start Kareem Hunt or this or that. And we were hammered like Kareem Hunt if he's available, you start him. And then what happened? Nick
He
Chubb took
almost,
over.
he almost hit projection.
Yeah, well, I mean that's going to happen in fantasy football.
Yeah.
Josh said y'all should do a college game day show. We would, but our wives would hate us. My idea for our channel moving forward is live stream podcast, stick to fantasy football until fantasy football is over with. From then on, talking about other sports as well. Throughout the week, when I get a chance or when we get a chance, filming separate videos talking about different topics. Maybe it might just be my face, it might just be Coop's face. That way, you get all of our personalities consistently throughout the whole channel, and making it more like a sports YouTube channel as opposed to a sports podcast. That seems to be the best, formula for success, to getting our faces and our opinions out to other people that we don't know. But yeah, that's a good idea. We do like all sports. If you listen back to our old podcast, available on Spotify and Apple Podcasts, by the way, we talked about everything from WNBA to NASCAR, Formula One. Did a lot of golf talk. So there's all kinds of stuff back there. But at this point in time, we're getting while the getting's good when it comes to fantasy football. People like hearing talking about it. So that's what we're going to be doing, man. Alrighty.
Couple of backfields kind of shook out this week. I think we saw where they stand. After week one, we had some questions. New England looks like they're going to lean more on Harris and Stevenson.
Yep.
Everybody was hoping that would be the opposite, especially with Ty Montgomery going to IR. Harris definitely led the backfield this week. 15 carries. He also had 2 catches, so he's still involved in the run game. Got into the end zone. So play Harris over Stevenson for the time being, and James Robinson and ETN's the same way.
Yep.
The game script is definitely important to note because they won 24-0. Games are behind. I think it's going to be a more even split. ETN is going to get more passing down work. I wouldn't sell him yet. I wouldn't drop him, but he's definitely going to the bench.
Yeah. That's something I'm looking to because I have him starting in my lineup. So I'm looking for somebody I can put in my flex to move David Montgomery to a RB2 spot. And I need a new tight end because I'm not playing Cole Kmet any longer. I can't do it. It's killing me. 2 goose eggs in a row, and I'm losing both games. Any production whatsoever, my games are closer. I'm within 20 or 30 points based on our scoring system of winning games, and a tight end spot could propel me to a win. I've not started off very well in this fantasy football league or football season, and you can tell I'm not happy about it. Nothing's happening the way it's supposed to happen. Oh, man. The Eagles are putting it on the Vikings right now.
Yeah, that's a shocker.
And the Buffalo Bills are running away with the NFL. 41-7, Buffalo Bills versus the Tennessee Titans.
How bad is the AFC South right now?
I don't know, man. They're struggling. If I had to make a Super Bowl pick right now, I'm picking the Bills.
Yep.
What do you guys, the audience, we're polling the audience. Super Bowl pick right now, I'm picking the Bills. Y'all got to pick somebody else. That's the rules. Let us know in the comments below. While you're commenting, you might as well hit the subscribe button on YouTube. Josh, you got to pick somebody else, man. I picked the Bills already. You lose.
I'm low on everybody on this team. I don't like them. I don't like them personally. Don't like them off the field. Don't like them on the field. The Bucs are kind of getting it done, man. 13 points allowed. That's crazy. Through 2 games, 13 points in the NFL. They're really looking dangerous without being good on the offensive side of the ball.
The thing about the Bucs though is their defense has been outstanding. Vita Vea in the middle, Devin White, Mike Edwards on the back end. You've got guys rushing the passer. You've got guys pick six. You've got and on offense, they're nothing special. Mike Evans is Mike Evans. He's going to do his thing. But other than that, you had Julio out this week. Chris Godwin's banged up. Gage is banged up. I couldn't name you. Kyle Rudolph is a tight end. I couldn't name you another one. Cameron Brate, is he still there? They don't. I mean, they're nothing special other than a couple of names and Tom Brady, of course. But they get it done, man. And I'm going to credit a lot of that to Byron Leftwich, the offensive coordinator, who should be an NFL head coach very, very soon.
Yep.
I'm kind of surprised. He interviewed for a few jobs last year, didn't get them. I'm kind of surprised. So, anybody else got a Super Bowl pick out there watching right now? Eagles look decent.
They do.
They got some weapons, man. Got a three-headed monster in the backfield.
Much improved defense. Put 2 first-round picks into it. Brought over Hassan Reddick as pass rusher. Eagles
great
could
number
be
2 receiver. Good quarterback.
The Eagles and Bucks, I mean, I don't know if I see other teams through 2 games that look like they could make a Super Bowl in the NFC besides those 2. Minnesota had a great first game, but not looking good tonight.
Yeah, Chiefs are a good pick, Josh. The Chiefs are always going to be in the hunt, though. Just like the Bills are always going to be in the hunt. As long as Patrick Mahomes and Josh Allen are healthy and they're the quarterbacks of those respective teams, it's going to be – I mean, those guys will be with their teams for the majority of their career. Those are going to be the Tom Bradys. Those are going to be the Ben Roethlisbergers, the Drew Breeses, the Peyton Mannings. That's who we're seeing right now in the NFL. And I think right now people are kind of taking it for granted. Mm-hmm. But that's a new wave of quarterback. You got – I'm going to put Burrow in there just because he's Burrow. But Lamar Jackson, those 2 I just named, and Justin Herbert are going to be major players in this league for the next decade, 2 decades, maybe. And they're all going to be Hall of Famers already. So we're witnessing a sense of change in the game of the NFL, where the quarterback is going to be highly anticipated as being an athlete. If you look back at some of the like Peyton Manning couldn't freaking move, Eli couldn't move, Ben Roethlisberger couldn't move. You had Michael Vick, and you see what happened to him. Not even a lot of things happened to Michael Vick. He could have been one of the best football players of all time, but he was, eye-opening, world-changing, game-changing. But now we got 5 Michael Vicks in this league right now, right? So the talent at the quarterback position is only growing better, and I think that's what happens to guys like Trevor Lawrence and Zach Wilson. They get in this league, and we're expecting them to shoot up like these other guys did, but the talent's just not there. If those guys come to the league 10 years ago, their talent level matches up with the talent level of other quarterbacks and defenses. The game's changing. Pocket passers are – you can't just be a pocket passer. You got to be able to move. You got to be able to create. And that's what we're seeing with our quarterbacks in the league right now. And it's very, very awesome to see. It makes the game a lot more interesting.
Even guys that come in as your traditional pocket passer are having to become more mobile. Mm-hmm. Like I mentioned it after week 1 with Burrow, 73 rushing yards through 2 games. He had 118 all of last season. So, I mean, he's already –
because he's running for his life.
That may be part of it, but you have to. You have to be able to adjust. Defenses are getting so creative. They're getting so athletic. We talk about the pass rushers. I mean, that was the story of the offseason, right? All of these freak athletes that are just getting paid millions of dollars solely to rush the quarterback on 3rd down.
Yep.
Like, that's what Von Miller's doing right now. I don't think he plays 1st and 2nd. He comes in for 3rd down pass rush.
It's crazy that there's so many specialists out there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Josh is right. Lael Collins has been a huge letdown so far. I don't know how you fix it. I really don't. Get better. That's about the only thing I can say. Really quick, without Dave, it's kind of boring in here. We don't have anybody to make fun of. We miss you, Dave. See you next week, hopefully. I don't know when he's coming back from Hawaii, but he'll be back soon. So really quick, I wanted to kind of run through some waiver wire pickups that could possibly be on your waiver wire. I'm going to look through our waivers. If they're on our waivers, chances are they're going to be on yours because we have massive rosters and a 10-team PPR league with multiple flexes, multiple running backs, multiple wide receivers, and multiple quarterbacks. So if they're on our waiver wire, chances are they're on yours. Buccaneers defense, somebody that I've already mentioned as a possible pickup. People kind of take defenses for granted, but you think Bucks D has a touchdown so far, 4 interceptions, 10 sacks as a group, and have only allowed 13 points on the year in 2 games. So Bucks defense highly sought after in terms of waiver wire picks. At the QB position, not much going here because we play in a 2 quarterback league. But Joe Flacco is available, Jimmy Garoppolo, Jacoby Brissett, maybe. For some reason, Kenny Pickett is still ranked higher than these dudes. I have no idea why. But those are the only that I would really consider picking up if I needed one. Last week, Joe Flacco, of those that I named, had the best game. In terms of the running back room, like I said, we're not going to get a lot of looks at running backs right now on our fantasy rosters. One name that did I watched the Chiefs game, Jerick McKinnon, got a couple of red zone touches there. That may be a fluke, but he did score a touchdown. He got a couple of targets while I was watching that game as well. Is it something that's repeatable? I don't know. But Clyde Edwards-Helaire has been there was some doubt there for a little while, but he's a guy that could sneak up depending on what Edwards-Helaire does. Injuries happen. Jerick McKinnon is an automatic pickup. Raheem Mostert, pretty solid day.
Yep, that's what I was going to call out.
And then we're waiting on Rachaad White to do something, and Tyler Algier as well. I feel like those guys are kind of sitting back waiting on something to happen.
Algier got some carries. Still, playing kind of change of pace back for Cordero Patterson. And again, Atlanta they're not going to be in a game script where they can run the ball. Like it's tough. It's the same situation that Dameon Pierce is seeing in Houston right now. I think he was pushing 20 carries this week, but it's just not a great team. They're not going to be efficient. They're not going to have that successful ground game when they're playing from behind.
Yeah. Looking at the wide receivers in our league, again, they're probably going to be available in your league, so check them out. Top scorers last week, Nelson Aguilar. Huge week this week against Pittsburgh. We also have Noah Brown, happened to be Cooper Rush's favorite target, caught a couple of deep balls, had a touchdown reception as well. 2 weeks in a row, pretty solid weeks for Noah Brown.
We're expecting Michael Gallup back next week, so keep that in mind.
Corey Davis with the New York Jets, big week. Dortch was mentioned on Sunday morning as a possible start for somebody who asked me or asked us a question like, who should we start? I can't remember the people that were in there, but Dortch was mentioned. Dortch ended up having a pretty good day.
Yeah, Atlanta's banged up, or Arizona's banged up. That wide receiver room, they're having some struggles there.
Yep. Sammy Watkins got some looks for Green Bay last night. It seemed to me like Aaron Rodgers was hitting his veteran wide receivers a little bit more often last night. So that could be in the game plan moving forward. Anybody else you like on this list, Coop? You looking at it?
Yeah, there's a couple tight ends. Gerald Everett, rostered 30% of leagues, and Logan Thomas.
I was going to say, Logan Thomas is a good one. Gesicki had a really good game. Again, I'm going to credit that to Tua's playing out of his mind. I think Gesicki should be more involved, but he's not. He's sort of on the it's a boomer bust type pick, but you know, barely did anything last week. Come out this week and had a touchdown catch.
And one more running back, Darrell Williams. If James Conner's injury, I haven't seen an update on it yet. If it has him out for some time, Darrell Williams will probably be playable off the waiver wire. He's not just a grab and stash guy. He's somebody you can plug in your lineup right away.
Darrell Williams rostered on 3.6% of leagues, had 8 carries, 59 yards, a touchdown last week or this past week. Yeah, that's a great pickup or a great option there. Again, we already went over defenses. If the Bucs defense is available in your league, pick them up. Jaguars look pretty good, but that's not obtainable consistently, I don't think. We're looking at teams that had really good weeks 2 weeks in a row. Playing defense consistently is pretty difficult to do, but
so what would your advice be for some of these early round picks that aren't hitting right now? I kind of gave my Kyle Pitts spiel earlier. What do you got on Pitts? What are you doing with him if you own him?
I think Kyle Pitts is the kind of guy who, if you have him on your league or on your roster, you don't want to get rid of him. If you can con somebody into trading and getting, if you have a quality backup tight end, and by quality, hell, there's only 3 good ones that are consistent. Tight ends are not going to win you a league overall. But if you have the top 3 and you have everybody else, attached to them, yeah, you got a good chance. But I'll get to that comment in a minute, James. That's pretty funny. I was talking about that to somebody earlier. But looking at, guys like Kyle Pitts or Cole Kmet, I'm giving up on Cole Kmet, but I would not give up on Kyle Pitts simply because of the offense they're in. We've seen Atlanta attempt to throw the ball, spread it out to multiple players. Chicago is just not doing that.
Yeah.
Some other guys, and I'm just going to put some names on my team because that's who is sucking. So Travis Etienne is another one. He's not a start play right now. He's not. He needs to come off my starting lineup. That's just reality of things. DK Metcalf is another one who, he should be, a top tier receiver, but he's not. I love what Rashad Bateman has been providing. I love AJ Brown, David Montgomery giving me a solid week last week. But other guy, I have Julio Jones on the bench. He's out this week. I'm waiting on Rondale Moore to come back. DJ Shark, a big goose egg this week after a big game in week 1. I think a lot of credit to that too is Amon-Ra St. Brown just, giving them the business. Chris Olave is slowly coming along, getting some targets. He's a guy that's, he had 13 targets this week, only caught 5 of them. 13 targets in a game is ridiculous. We mentioned Garrett Wilson had 14 targets this week. 1 target off. You're looking at a possible humongous game. He still had 80 yards. Just couldn't find the end zone. But Chris Olave is a guy that I've got him stashed on my bench, but I'm looking for a reason to play him. I'm any chance that I've got to play him, I'm bringing him up. It might be this week.
I think that's a great call out because people do not stay patient in fantasy.
No, they don't.
Rookie wide receivers, you have to stay patient. Like I said, I picked up Garrett Wilson off the waiver wire this week because he had not a bad week 1, but it's like, oh, I've got this Garrett Wilson guy who I don't know anything about, and he just did that for the Jets, so I'll drop him. And then he turns around this week and has a huge game. And it's going to take some of these guys half a season, these rookie wide receivers, especially the early round picks. But we've already seen some of them hit, right? London looks good. Dotson looks good. Olave and Wilson are getting usage. Treylon Burks, I think early in the first half, had like 4 catches for 47 yards in the Tennessee game. So if you have those rookies, especially at wide receiver, be patient. I think ETN falls into that category as a second-year player who missed an entire season. Like, I still see him as a rookie. He's
Yeah.
not somebody I'm giving up on. Don't go and drop Brees Hall after that week 1 performance. Like, he came out
No.
this week and matched Michael
Massively.
Carter in usage. And that's a backfield I'm really concerned about because I've got Carter, and it looks like it's already starting to shift.
Yeah. One thing, before we close out of here, it's been kind of cool talking about the lower tier. We always talk about the guys that are doing awesome, but we're looking at the middle of the pack guys, the ones that you don't really think twice about putting on your bench. For me, Chris Olave is a guy. He's in our league, and I'm gonna just talk about our scoring system. It's way different than yours, I'm sure. It's double PPR. We had 18 points one week, 20 points the next. Well, if you think about it, putting him in my flex spot, he's scoring just as much as CD Lamb. About 40 points in the total of 2 weeks. Chris Olave, CD Lamb, preseason, you're putting CD Lamb here at the top of the list. But they're giving me the same production. Chris Olave has given me more production on the bench than DK Metcalf has in my starting lineup. It's not week to week. 1 week was better than the other, obviously, by a couple points. But DK is not getting the usage, but he's rostered in over more than half of the leagues that Olave's rostered in. Cole Kmet is another thing. He was a guy that we were really high on moving forward, leading into the preseason for fantasy. 0 points in 2 games. I picked up Hayden Hurst, 14.8 points, 19.2 points. Nothing fantastic, but those are points that I did not have and could very well have won me games. He's getting 5 to 7 targets a game in a crowded receivers room. Really crowded. So with him getting those types of targets, it leads me to believe that Hayden Hurst is a prime candidate for, I don't want to say garbage touchdowns, but like safety net touchdowns, check down touchdowns, those types of scores. He's not going to be targeted down the field for touchdowns, but he's Joe Burrow's safety net. He's on the sideline catching balls, getting first downs. When they need a first down, it's him or Tyler Boyd. That's who they're going after. So both of those guys, once the Bengals start hitting up, those 2 guys are going to be guys that you can target and put in your lineup fairly quickly and get some production out of them. I don't know how you guys are feeling about the fantasy week leading up to week number 3, but for me, I'm discouraged. I know some of you guys probably are too, but it's a long season. A couple of trades may go my way. Might be getting on the bugle. And
you don't trade. Who are you kidding?
I've had some conversations, Coop. We're working some stuff out. But my problem is the people I would like to trade away, it's too late. I got to make their stock has got to go up again in order for me to get anything valuable out of them.
I was hitting the trade offers hard after week 1, just trying to predict, like, it's not too late to sell this big name. Mm-hmm. But after week 2, it's really, you've kind of seen the true colors. You know who the horses are. Yep. And it gets really tricky. That's when the waiver wire is huge.
Yeah, I've talked about my guys. I was selling ETN, CD Lamb, and DK. All of them. I was selling them. If you wanted them, give me a decent return for 1 or 2 of them, something similar to that. I was shopping them around, trying to get some names. No luck yet.
I was willing to take a loss on one, in my opinion. I offered up DJ Moore and T. Higgins for Michael Pittman.
I tried to get Pittman too. Derek wasn't letting him go.
That's a heck of an offer, right?
Yeah,
DJ Moore and T. Higgins, 2 for 1. And I feel like I was losing in that trade, but I really wanted Pittman. I would rather have that best player and work out that next wide receiver spot. But I'm also not feeling great, Frank. I've changed my team name to Unfulfilled Potential. Just to send these guys a message. This is one of my biggest fantasy tips. You are owner, GM, head coach. If you need to let your players know that their performance isn't acceptable, you can do so. Justin Jefferson right now, 5 catches, 40 yards. He will be in my flex next week. He has to know that this is not wide receiver 1 performance. I'm going to send that message. He's going to be looking at this game from, a different perspective. He's going to be my fourth option next week instead of my one. And I
Tell him,
expect him to
Coop.
step up and earn that place on my roster.
Gotta tell him, son. Really, really quick, James Clark. This is the comment I was talking about earlier. There's a commercial out there, or like a video, where Eli Manning is, disguised as a walk on at Penn State, named Chad Powers. So if you haven't looked at it, I would play it on here, but I would get copyright from YouTube. But it says you mentioned the quarterback athletes. Eli came to mind. I did mention Eli as a non-athlete quarterback. Josh Weaver chiming in. Primetime cousin sucking. Yeah, we just talked about him not giving the ball to Justin Jefferson. Quick update on Monday Night Football. Eagles still ahead of the Vikings in the third quarter. The Bills game is final. They move on to 2-0, 41-7. Man, the Titans, they've just lost it, man. They were at the top for a long time. But
I didn't like them last year. I really didn't. They were the 1 seed, and I was out.
Yeah, they were definitely the weakest one for sure. I don't like it. But anybody else have any burning fantasy football questions before we head out and let you guys enjoy the rest of your Monday night? Give it a couple seconds. Quick shout out again. If you have not subscribed to our YouTube channel, go ahead and do that now. Mm-hmm. We are well on our way to 100 subscribers. We have increased our subscriber count pretty much every single day in the last month. If you guys know anything about how YouTube works, likes on videos, comments on videos, subscriptions, watch time, all that goes into YouTube pushing your videos out to other watchers and listeners and things like that. It helps you grow a channel tremendously. So you guys that are consistently tuning in on our channel when we go live, when we post videos, we appreciate it. Just kind of give us a little nudge there. Push that red subscribe button before you leave. Again, it's always appreciated. If you have any questions, you can always follow Coop on Twitter at Trifecta Coop, Trifecta with a 3, because we thought that was a great idea when we named our podcast, but it's cool. Most of you guys follow me on Twitter as well. Ooh, we got a question. Josh Weaver says, Gibson, Henderson, and Jeff Wilson for Damian Harris and Deontay Johnson. He's getting Harris and Johnson. Who's the better player?
The best player in this trade is Deontay Johnson.
That's what I thought.
But I think Harris is probably behind all three of those backs right now. All three of those backs could also not finish the season as a starter.
He also said he's 2-0. He's got a stacked roster, only needing a full-time flex option.
Yeah, the roster construction is really important. So in that case, I mean, Deontay Harris is going to be your best week-to-week flex play. The issue that I have with the running backs you have right now, Gibson could lose a ton of work whenever Brian Robinson comes back. Darrell Henderson already saw an even carry split with Cam Akers this week. Despite what we saw in week 1, it seems like that may be shifting as well. And Jeff Wilson is only there until Mitchell gets back. So all these guys could be the backups by the time you hit your fantasy playoffs, in which case Deontay Johnson is going to help you much more. If you need to get to the playoffs, I would keep those 3. But if you feel confident enough in your roster you can get there, then yeah, pull the trigger and get Deontay Johnson. And Damian Harris isn't bad. We just said he's taking that backfield over. So probably pull the trigger on that.
Speaking of Damian Harris, Coop and I played high school football against Damian Harris. He played for Madison Southern. Our senior year, he happened to be a freshman. We beat that ass. He was very good as a freshman too, by the way, just in case you guys were wondering. I think the first carry he had took it for like 75 yards to the house. He didn't do much after that because we didn't know who he was at the time, but he looks similar to what he does now. Josh graduated the year after us. We graduated a ton of defensive players. I think 9 of our starting 11 were seniors and left that team that year. Yeah. And Harris ended up breaking his school record with 9 touchdown rushes uh, as a sophomore against our high school football team.
He did open field stiff arm me for a touchdown when he was a freshman. That's my claim to fame that Damian Harris stiff armed me on a score.
Yeah, crazy flex. I played against a ton of professional baseball players in high school on the baseball field, but none have, well, only like 2 or 3 that I know of have made the major league rosters. Um, Damian Harris is the only football player that I know of that I played against that happens to be in the NFL or even had a chance at the NFL at this point. But I played against like quite a few professional baseball players in my high school days.
Yeah, I actually had 3 or 4 guys from my college team make training camps, but like you said, didn't actually make the regular season roster.
Yeah, I mean it's a lot easier. I don't want to say it's easier making a professional team in baseball, but there are more opportunities with minor leagues to get to showcase your skills. One of the biggest names that come off the top of my head is crap. I forgot his name.
The biggest one,
It
the
is.
biggest one to come to his head. We'll leave you guys hanging, and we'll get that update next week.
I got to find out.
You guys got to come back to get the answer.
Chandler Shepard was his name. Chandler Shepard. Chandler Shepard played for Kentucky. Played high school baseball at Lawrence County High School in Louisa, Kentucky. Pitched for the Boston Red Sox, Baltimore Orioles, a couple of teams like that. But yeah, that's the biggest baseball name that I played against in high school. Fun fact, our third member of our Trifecta Sports podcast, David Hayes, was our catcher, also our best player for the most part. Hit a ball that Chandler Shepard happened to climb the wall in center field and bring back into the park during a high school game. One of the greatest plays I've ever seen a high school kid make. There's probably a good reason why he played. He actually pitched in the major leagues for a few years for sure. Was primarily a AAA guy, but did make a few starts at the major league level. Well, fella, you guys that are watching, we appreciate it again. You guys are very supportive in our show. We're just a couple dudes goofing off most of the time, having a good time, just talking sports. That was our week 2 overreactions. Oh, we got a question. Evan, you got it in the nick of time. We were getting ready to sign off. Someone offered me Jamar Chase and James Robinson for DeAndre Swift and Jamal Williams. Is this a no-brainer? He already has Etienne, Najee, and Michael Carter as his other running backs. Badly need a wide receiver. I'm taking it.
Yeah, you got to get James Robinson in there. That running back room isn't bad, but I mean, there's some question marks with all those guys. Etienne and Carter could both be, number 2 backs, and Najee has not looked great this year.
I think that's going to change, honestly. James Robinson, straight up sub for Etienne. Those are your one running back 2, running back 1. Jamar Chase immediately becomes running back 1. You do lose DeAndre Swift, who is a major key player in his offense. But I think your team becomes better with James Robinson and Najee and Jamar after losing DeAndre.
Yeah.
I think your team becomes better. I'd take it, fellas. That's just me. Any other burning questions out there in the Facebook and YouTube world? Send them now. If you don't get them in time and we do not answer your question, get on Twitter, follow trifecta_coop. He will answer your questions. He also has like 6 followers so far. He's very new to Twitter. If you want to follow me, my name, I'm going to at Coach Spencer. You want to follow me? This is my Twitter account. We will chat and you can ask us any questions you would like. But that's all, folks. We appreciate you guys tuning in to tonight's live stream. You guys were a part of the recording of our podcast. We appreciate all the support. Much love, as always. My brother says, "How is your hair so thick and luscious, Frank?" I'm just surprised you learned how to spell luscious and don't know how to spell thick.
Oh,
That's his fingers. I know because I got the fat finger disease too. He can't type. All right, guys. With that being said, we're closing out today's show. We will be back on Sunday morning. Not sure what time. Usually it'll be around 10 o'clock. Come back and join us Sunday morning. Oh my goodness, chat box going wild. Um, Tune in on Sunday morning. That's what I was getting
yep.
to. Yeah, tune in Sunday morning. We'll give you a rundown of injury designations, start, sit, all that good stuff, and then we'll repost on Monday night for our regular scheduled live stream and recording of the Trifecta Sports Podcast. Peace. We love you. We wish you good fortunes in your fantasy football endeavors. Please let me win a game next week. Please.